from North Tonawanda, actually.
Right.
Lived there on my house, oh God, almost 25 years
Where?
now. On Wheatfield Street.
Okay.
All those big old houses.
Yeah.
I bought one many years ago, and it's almost completely restored. 100-year-old house, which is nice. But we're here for a few things. We're here because of GENDA. What is your stance on GENDA, first of all? I mean, there's a question we all really couldn't seem to find online on how you voted in the past on it and such.
Yeah, probably because like I'm always very sympathetic to others. Never want to hurt anybody, but I struggle sometimes, and sometimes just because I think of you know, my age group and how I was raised in certain things, and so that's why you're probably not seeing anything, because there's some personal struggles I'm going through within myself on these issues. But there's always that side of me is never wants to hurt anybody for anybody that's different or anything, like never to put harm's way either. So that's where I'm, you know. But
and our stance on it is rights are for all. If you're withholding the rights to any individual, you're harming them.
Yeah.
Just like when we were fighting for marriage equality. If you're withholding that right to any group and giving it to others, you are hurting them because you're not giving them the same rights. You're not giving them the same protections in this case. And that's why we keep fighting for GENDA.
We're really happy that the Assembly has passed GENDA now for the ninth year in a row. And this year, can we ask how you voted on it this year? It just came up for a vote a couple days ago.
Last week,
Yeah, I don't think I voted for it. I don't think so.
Yeah. And the other thing we're here for is the full ban on the conversion therapy for minors. And that you guys just voted on and voted yes on it. And I don't know if you did or not, voted yes on it just yesterday, in fact. It was up for vote. And the Assembly has passed that. And I don't know if you've had any research or looked into that at all, but that's a real scary thing because it's still legal. And the type of conversion therapy they do goes all the way to convulsive electrotherapy, which I don't know if you're familiar with what that is.
No,
it's basically they electrocute the brain to a point that it puts the person into convulsions. It's kind of an archaic and old, you know, psychologists will tell you there are cases with extreme cases where it can help. But when it comes to youth, to try to convert their sexual tendencies, as they call them, it doesn't work, and it just fries parts of their brains and messes them up for life. And you know, both of these two issues, our governor has already signed, you know, orders on against, but we're looking for the full legislation so that it's a law, not just a executive order. And the third reason we're here is protection for same-sex couples with children and adoption, so they don't have to go through all that. So if a same-sex couple has a child together, it's not an issue. Where right now it currently still is an issue in New York State, and the one has to petition for adoption. While that's going on, that parent has absolutely no legal rights over that child or of that child. So if something would happen to the actual birthing parent, they're basically out of luck, and that poor child ends up in some weird adoption facility or something.
Not to go any further, John, not to interrupt, but it also affects heterosexual couples as well for being surrogates. That you cannot have that in New York State altogether.
That was the other thing about
Surrogate
it.
contracts in New York are null and void.
Yeah. So anyone in your district, a friend of mine, Brooke Boltz, lives to extra parents live down the street from you. She cannot conceive. She would love to talk and help in any way she can. Although not here today, this is the LGBT Day of Advocacy, but that individual alone on the heterosexual side actually cannot move forward with her own family life as well.
And somebody else want to cover what there is. And you know, the other thing is too, in the issue and all of these things, just like goes with marriage equality, it's not just a personal issue as far as the state goes, it's also a financial issue. One thing we don't want to have happen is what's happened down in North Carolina. That state, it's cost them billions of dollars, and now they're facing a federal lawsuit because of their stance on transgender rights. New York is the only state in the Northeast that does not have full transgender protection. we're supposed to be the leaders of that kind of stuff, and here we are, the last state to pass that law. You know, we led the way in marriage equality. We didn't lead it, but we were, you know, if we would have gotten it here in New York State, I still firmly believe the federal government would not have acted on it. And we've got to lead the way on transgender rights at all. We shouldn't be a follower in this issue. We should be a leader in it.
I mean, I guess our basic message is we're not asking for anything that's not afforded to any heterosexual person that grows up in New York State. For anybody who is transgender or gay or bisexual in their workplace and faces harassment, they have no rights under the law. They can still walk into work scared that they're going to lose their job that day because their boss doesn't like gay people.
They get thrown out of their apartment if they're transgender right now.
They
There's
get
so many
harassed
things.
if they
get
if they
harassed.
want to use the bathroom that they identify with. I noticed that around the building here you have gender-neutral bathrooms, even in like a Senate building, and that's the first time that I've ever seen one. And I'm trans myself, and it was really validating, you know, to be able to go in one. And
They have them in the White House now too, by the
you
way.
do, yeah, in the White House and in the Senate building, but I've never in Buffalo, New York, I've never seen one before.
So we're just asking to be afforded the same exact rights as everybody else. We want to be secure in our lives so that we know that we can get by, get ahead, and join the family of New York and America. Because we're not second-class citizens. We all provide to the family of New York.
To give you an example, I'm not transgender, but why I'm so passionate about this, you know, give you my background. I have 3 children. I already have 7 grandchildren. I didn't come out till I was 35 years old. I mean, so I probably at one point was sitting where you are now in your thoughts and everything and going, wait a minute, hold it here. But the bottom line is, for someone to go through whatever state of, whatever level of transition they're in, that's not something somebody just does on a whim. I mean, for you and being an outsider to think, oh, you know, a man just puts a dress on and he's transgender. No, that's not transgender. That would be a drag queen. And there's men that do that. But to actually be in any state of transition is a huge, big decision they've made. And to go through the embarrassment of not being able to, and the perfect example is I know many of my friends are going through transition from a woman to a man. They go through all of the hormone therapies before they go through any of the surgeries, and some never even go through the full transition surgery.
Mainly because they can't afford it.
Mainly because they can't afford it. But these boys, and I call them boys or men, they look 100% like men. They have facial hair, real facial hair. They have all the features of a man, but yet then they're going to be forced to go into a lady's bathroom. That's where the problem is. Because someone's going to go, wait a minute, you're not a woman.
Well, it goes a little bit more deeper as well to go into what he's saying, John, is that when you're transitioning as an individual, you are to, when you're counseling, you are to live a life as the individual to make sure that that is what you are supposed to be personally. So if you are forced during that transition to go into another of the opposite sex that you're transitioning out of, you will psychologically detrimentally hurt yourself, subconsciously or not. So by forcing people back into the sex that they are transitioning out to through counseling and through the government and through the state programs, you're detrimentally reversing back what they have already stepped forward to do.
In fact, before anyone does take the final steps and go through surgery, they've got to go through intense therapy and get it signed off by a mental health professional before they can do that. You know, it's not a step one takes lightly.
Yeah, especially for male, female to transfer from male.
Got a friend, Bobby O'Toole. I don't know if you know Bobby.
Oh,
Rings a
I've
bell,
heard of
yeah.
the case.
Yeah,
They have read about it.
yeah. Went to school with him, and now, now he identifies as a woman. Went to school, played basketball together, known him for a long time. Very intelligent young man. He's a lawyer. Very intelligent.
And you know he took it. I mean, you know he thought very hard and seriously about that. It
Yeah.
isn't like a whim,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Right, and so, this person who, like, you went to school with, you seem to kind of be friends with, like, who is now living as a woman, like, then she should be able to, do whatever makes her comfortable, you know, she's not, like, hurting anyone, like, at all. And like you were saying, she's intelligent,
Well,
she's a
shut this
lawyer.
off.
Yeah, and like you were saying, she's intelligent, she's a lawyer, she's, like, very talented with, like, basketball and everything, so I feel like, people who are trans should be able to live their lives how they want to, because obviously if, like, in that case, then, like, she's not like a predator.
And it's about without the fear of being discriminated against. It's a civil right. It's not, this isn't, you know, they try to make it a bathroom issue and this and that. This is just a civil right, you know, where, like I said, you can't afford a civil right to only a select party in this country. Civil rights are for all, no matter ethnicity, no matter whatever. This is just another part of that. And yes, things have changed a lot in the last 25 years. You know, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have even been addressing this issue at all. It just shows you how things have changed.
Right.
But they have, and I think we're evolving to a point where we're realizing all residents, even the small percentage of residents, deserve the same civil rights. We're not allowed to discriminate against, let's say, Latinos if in Niagara County we only have 5% Latinos. That can be an example of, okay, there's 5% Latinos, so they don't deserve the same rights. No, that's not how it works. It's civil rights. It's the same rights for all. No discrimination, and that's what the bill's about. No discrimination because of somebody's identity.
John, what I fear, looking at larger, bigger bids like Lake Placid, potentially going to 2026, the International Olympic Committee will not allow a nation to win the bid if there is any anti-LGBT laws. So if we set the trend now, and then we actually recognize and potentially accept everyone, then we open up all the development, not just for Lake Placid, but all the regions around New York State, the tourism, the actual corporations that come in, and we can actually set an example of equality, you know, welcoming the international community in.
Well, and plus because the Air Force Base in Niagara Falls falls under federal jurisdiction as well as state. I mean, it's New York State's going to have no choice. Quite honestly, they're going to have to follow suit with what the federal government does.
This is some literature from the corporation or the company that I work with, DoD Globe. They are the advocating group for LGBT and civil rights. If you go onto the website, it'll give you all the legislation, all the work that they've done. That is just the One World's Fair information that we sent off to the governor's office. That would probably correlate for 2025 with 2026. But they're a great resource to reach out to if you have any other questions or research that you want to do.
So our promise to you, Assemblyman, is that whether it be your friend, the woman who can't conceive and needs help through parent-child security, or GENDA, or the anti-conversion therapy, everyone here in this room and everyone here in our lobby day is here to help you with any information that you need.
Okay.
Because we know it's a journey, and we know that you need to know what's going on in the district and with different people and their experiences. So we wanted to open this communication with you and
I
let you know
appreciate
that we're
that.
here to help you.
Leave your cards over with Kathy, because like you say, 10 years ago this wasn't an issue, so now it's something that I need to learn more about it.
Some of us in this room were in a room with another senator, Mark Rosani, who almost said exactly what you said about marriage equality. He says, you know, I'm at a point in my life, I just got to really look at this. And he came back with us, and maybe you can take some of this. He says, you know, I looked at it, and I tried to, and it's hard for me because he has family and all that's gay. He says, I tried to get all the emotions, all my personal feelings out of it, and just looked at it solely as a letter of the law. Is there any legal reason to exclude anybody from the same civil rights? And he says, legally, I couldn't vote no on it, because legally there's no way these people don't deserve the same civil rights as everybody else. And that was kind of how he finally went on it. But it started as an emotional thing as well. And it's just, I kind of chuckled because I remember hearing this a couple years ago in another office up here. So, Bruce, you were there, weren't
Yes,
you?
indeed.
And wasn't that very much like what he
Indeed,
said?
Indeed, yes.
And then the next time we visit him, he says, legally, I can't say no. He says,
It's interesting because when I, and Nick knows, you know, our family, and I started off with his grandmother, which was born in Italy in an old Italian house and
yeah,
with immigrants, and there was multiple families that I started off at, because I was even older than your dad, right?
Yeah.
But it's tells me that we live in a great country for a person like that that could be here sitting and voting on issues for the state. That this is truly a great country. But when I, you know, what they teach you in school or what you hear on the streets and what you see here is totally different. For example, let me say this, like I looked at lobbyists, right? Lobbyists would come, like, before I took this job, I looked at it as something like, oh my God, you're a lobbyist, like, ugh, like poison. But in reality, the lobbyists became educators for me, and even to a point where sometimes, you know, on a certain issue, you might have this lobbyist on this side of that issue, and this one on the other, and then you can hear it, but you're hearing all the facts and you're provided the information in front of you to make a good decision. Our uncle always said, Uncle Ralph always said to me, who was an educator, is good information makes good decisions, but you gotta have the information, so.
And we're here to do that for you. So
I appreciate that.
at any time, you can call on anyone here, or we'll provide a list of folks from your district, and you can reach out and help, you know, to understand their stories and the stories of, you know, people that either they are trans or they're a mom and a dad of a trans student, or
and we gotta get out that, you know, we gotta get it to the point and get it out that Niagara Falls is an inclusive town, just for the tourism part of it, you know. I don't need to say anything, and I've been able to afford to do some travels, and wherever I traveled to, I just came back over Christmas. I was in Cuba before they were allowed, supposed to do a special report so I could get into the country and all. And via from Canada, I mean, gays and lesbians and transgenders travel a lot, they spend a lot of money. I mean, it's been proven time and time again. I mean, it can be a boost also to Niagara Falls,
Right.
that it's an exclusive thing. The marriages help Niagara Falls, as you talk to anybody, there's a lot of marriages performed there. And then James Craig Raz, a good friend of mine who's here too, I mean, he's officiated people getting married in Jamestown from all over the world, you know, so let's keep that going, that we're an all-inclusive state. We don't care. We're here for the people and everybody's welcome, and let's just build our economy with it. You know.
How many of you have never been here to Albany? Nick? Have you gone down to the Capitol?
No.
Oh God, it's beautiful, you gotta go.
I've been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah, some of the tours are free if you get a chance, or just walk around, they have all the displays you can read.
It's a beautiful city, yeah.
Oh, you gotta go down there. And then there's a nice museum at the end of the concourse about all of the history and geology of New York State, and again, it's free. So, there's a couple things around here you have to go visit, especially you gotta see the Cap. Are you going there later?
that's our
Yeah,
next
so to walk over there, yeah.
Oh, Nick, it's just beautiful.
Well, I mean, I can't.
Well, it's a
walk
beautiful
down
day
the road
outside
and
for it.
not the apple here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, walk around outside today. It's getting better. Yeah, the last
And there's-
couple of days it was so cold with the wind and everything.
And there's something going on in the concourse with the first responders, I believe. And there's all kinds of bagpipes and all going on, which is wonderful. I love bagpipes.
Yeah, it's an interesting place.
It's a beautiful place.
It's an interesting experience being up here. It really is. It's a nice experience.
Well, you've got, I think you have the right attitude. You're here to, you gotta learn too. I mean, how do you learn about what's important to your
Well-
people unless they come and tell you?
Again, it gets back to democracy because, like you say, you get. Well, like for myself, I see myself as a common person being here, brought up here, but you're not all knowing nor on every issue. So, you know, like I have my skill set in certain areas, like I went to school for, things like that, or my experiences, but you don't have all the knowledge, and you gotta keep an open mind and be objective and keep learning, I guess.
Open-minded and open ear, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
I learn more just shutting up and listening to people.
Yeah.
I talk a lot, as you can tell, but
You like to talk.
I also like to.
I thought Nick was the talker.
Why do you think he grabbed me down there? It's like, okay.
So, if I could just add, I'm a City of Buffalo resident, but I attended a conference about poverty in Niagara County a couple months ago.
Right.
And there is an issue of homelessness, in Niagara
Right.
County, and like I was like one of the people who helped flood your office, with some phone calls and emails and such about homelessness. And there is like an overlap, between the LGBTQ community and homelessness, and passage of GENDA would help alleviate this. I just did want to add that particular point. It's like, folks who are discriminated against because of housing issues, like passage of GENDA would help
Really?
prevent this.
Okay.
It would actually open doors to housing for not only the elder care, but the current youth. It could possibly open up some development with housing downtown Niagara Falls and Niagara County, something that's close to commuting to Buffalo as well, because a lot of the services, the main hub is in Buffalo. So those are some options too that you could analyze. It could
So
take
what
a
you're saying is there's gender discrimination for housing, which I didn't
Oh,
know that.
yeah,
Oh my
big
gosh,
time.
Very much so.
Good idea.
Very much.
I didn't know that.
And they can do it, like I said, it's
In
not.
fact, one of the leading trans folks in Buffalo, Camille Hopkins, she was here, she could tell you the story herself, but she was thrown out of her residence on Linwood Avenue precisely for that reason, when she was discovered she was trans.
I just wanted to like.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't know that.
Well, with the potential the next month too, they're saying that the military and the U.S. government will open transgender service members will be able to serve now. Niagara Falls Air Base. It's natural to think that people that are serving will be living in Niagara County, Buffalo, and it's something you might want to look at.
Right, and even with things such as like transitional housing, I think that's really important that focuses on LGBT youth. I was homeless for about like 2 weeks recently, which isn't really a long time, but it is, to not have a place to live, and like I was saying, like I'm trans and I'm like LGBT, and I feel like that made everything worse. And the fact that I didn't have like adequate places to go to that could like cater to my needs as a queer trans person, that was really difficult.
And they're often kicked out of homes as well if they do find out that they are LGBT or trans. The establishment will literally kick them out. So then they go back to social services that dependent upon the actual needs of the county, and if it's more weight on them, instead of maybe looking at providing a stable area within the region that's accessible to bus routes, schools, basic living, could be a good thing to look into.
Thank you.